just cleaning up the clean up the rust off of the nuts and bolts that hold the base together. So I got a wire wheel and the drill press, and I'm just holding the various nuts and bolts with a pair of pliers so my hands don't get too close to the wire wheel. And get my goggles back together. You want to make sure you got safety goggles on. So the only danger here really is your eyes, or to stick your fingers in it, so we'll try to avoid that. Yeah, that's a little tedious, but it does take the rust off. You can focus there. Too close. So you just have to keep switching your position on it and get it to work. One thing you want to keep in mind is that you don't want to, it's turning this way, clockwise. You don't want to work over here because it tends to throw it back at you. You want to work on this kind of quadrant over here, because the bristles are going that way, and this way it's easier to hold it steady. You don't get it, it doesn't grab like it does when it comes around the other side, so I'm just going to be a little careful about that. Since this is a carriage bolt, it has a flat underneath the head, so that's a good place to grab onto it with the pliers. If it doesn't have a flat, if it's a hex head, that's easy because you can just grab the head, but if it has a round head like this, it's hard to grab, and there's no hex underneath it to put the pliers on. Then what you can do is take a couple of nuts and just run them down to the bottom there, and use that to hold the bolt while you wire wheel it. Alright, well, that was rather tedious, but we got them all cleaned up. So, where the heck is the lens? There we go. Focus. Thank you. There we go. So, if you're doing a restoration, it's worth taking the time to do it, because if you take the trouble to paint everything and make it all beautiful, ending up with crappy looking bolts is not good. A couple of things to keep in mind. When you're using this, if you, as I said earlier, if you put it over here, it tends to kick it back at you. If you slip around to the back, it tends to pull it away from you. So you want to work in this quarter of the wheel, this quadrant here, and this way you have the workpiece, the work itself under control. It's not flying all over the place. So just a tip to think about. Now that was rather tedious. It took about 3 hours to wire wheel all that stuff, and there's still a bunch of hardware on the smaller pieces that we have to do. So, but anyway, that's done. Let's put the base together. Let's see if we can get this together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the middle shelf on one side, and then try to get the other side on, and then we'll put the top on. So let's see how that goes. Something kind of interesting here. Instead of just drilling the hole, they actually mortised the top there a little bit to catch the square on the under the head of the lag bolt. So I'm not sure why they did that, but they did, so it's kind of interesting. Easier to do this sideways. because that mortise is there, that square mortise for the shank on the bolt, I have to give it a little tap. Apparently that middle shelf was cut a little short. I'm getting a little gap along here. I didn't notice that when I took it apart, but I guess there's nothing to be done. It's like in the process of tightening it down, the gap closed, so I think we're okay. All right. So I need this to be mobile. It's too heavy to carry around. So I'm going to put this back on this temporary base I made. In the long run, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but for now this will do. So I'm going to put some lag bolts through this. I've got 2-inch, or is that 1.5 inches? 1.5 I believe those are 1/4-inch lags. I can't get the drill in there straight because of the angle on the legs, so I just pecked at it a little bit. And what we'll do is we'll take this off. It's already getting pretty heavy. And where I made the marks, I'll just go forward. Try to put the bolts down. And the slot in the base is a bit wide, so I'm just putting a washer underneath it just for safety's sake. Bring this over. Let's see how it was the last time. Alright, that was the front. Let's turn that about. And get rid of the detritus. Let's clean that off a little bit. Is a bit dusty from all the projects, so anything that sits for more than a few days is going to get some crap all over it. What we got? Is that the right ones? Oh, bookers. I goofed. I should have put these in from the bottom before I tighten it down, the top shelf down, so I'm going to have to loosen that back up and stick these in from the bottom. The trouble with taking so long to do things, I forgot how it went together. I should have recognized that was the case because there's countersinks over here for the screw going up through, so yeah, I just plain goofed on that one. Let's see. Those 4 are the same, so that should be them. I did look at the video yesterday too to refresh my memory, but think I went that far with it. I was concerned with putting the base together. And I don't think I went far enough to see the rest of it, so I wasn't too swift. Try this again. Alright, that's better. Appear to be missing a couple of the nuts. I'll have to go back through the jars of hardware and see if I can find it. But for the time being, I'll tighten these two corners up and then I'll hold it. I'll come back later and do that. Yeah, I'm not sure where they went. I might have dropped them somewhere in the pit of darkness, which is known as the garage. A couple little paint chips, I'll have to touch them up later on. That's okay. Don't worry about that. All right. Let me get the other piece. So this is the arm. Dust that off a little bit. And this has one bolt go through, and there's a pin that goes in the side here that aligns that. Let me go get that. There's a groove on the side here, and this pin goes in there, and that aligns the two pieces. I'm not sure why they did it that way. Normally you would put the pin vertically through the two castings to line it up, but that's the way they did it. I'm not sure what the purpose of that was, but that's okay. I think I'm pretty okay, and that's the bolt. It's got a great big head on it. Let's put this up. Paint was in the way. Gotta get another socket for that because I do not have the right one with me, and that's not going to stay up there. So. The pin. Well, of course I dropped the stupid pin. What the heck? Inside. There it is. Could have replaced that if we had to, but I don't like to spend money on something I don't need. Very tight tolerance on those threads there, and that's interesting. If I recall, I had it didn't come out very easily either. Alright, so that is that. Alright, so that's that. We have the basic castings back together. Obviously the motor, the gearbox, all the other little pieces have to go back on it, so but I haven't cleaned them up yet, so I'll have to do that. But it's starting to look like a saw again, so it's making me happy. Too many other projects interrupted this and it took too long, so I'm kind of glad to get this back together and move on to something else. One more bolt, I almost forgot about it. It goes on the back in that little window there, up into the arm casting. So I make sure to get that in as well. Otherwise, it'd probably be pretty wobbly. So thanks for watching as always, and thanks for subscribing and liking, and we'll see you next time.